The smell of stale fryer grease clung to my hair, but I didn't care. I hummed a little tune as I fumbled with my keys, balancing a small white bakery box in one hand. Inside was a vanilla bean cake, Liam's favorite. 5 years. We had made it to 5 years. Liam? I called out, pushing the door open with my hip. I got off early. You won't believe the tips I made Todd. My voice died in my throat. The lights in the kitchen were blazing, which was odd for a Tuesday afternoon. But that wasn't what stopped me cold. Liam was sitting at our small oak dining table, and he wasn't alone. Sitting across from him, sipping from my favorite mug, was Chloe. Chloe, the work wife. The woman Liam had spent the last 2 years telling me was just a colleague. The woman who wore designer suits while I served pancakes in an apron. Oh, I said, the bakery box feeling suddenly heavy in my hand. I didn't know we had company. Chloe didn't look at me. She just traced the rim of the mug with a perfectly manicured red fingernail, a small tight smile playing on her lips. Liam didn't stand up to greet me. He didn't smile. He just pointed to a thick envelope resting in the center of the table. Sit down, Ava, he said. His voice was flat, cold, like he was ordering a coffee, not speaking to his wife of 5 years. I took a step forward, my heart hammering against my ribs. Liam, what's going on? It's our anniversary. I know what day it is, he snapped, finally looking at me. His eyes were empty of any warmth. Just sit down. We need to talk. I placed the cake box on the counter, my hands trembling. I pulled out the chair opposite him, ignoring Chloe as best I could. Is something wrong? Did something happen at work? Work is fine, Chloe said. Her voice was smooth like expensive silk. Better than fine, actually. Liam just got the promotion to junior executive. I looked at Liam, a smile instinctively trying to form. You did? Liam, that's amazing. Why didn't you eat tea? Stop, Liam interrupted, holding up a hand. Just stop, Ava, read the papers. I looked down at the envelope. My name was typed on the front. I opened it, my fingers numb. I pulled out the document and the words swam before my eyes. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Divorce? I whispered, the word feeling like a stone in my mouth. I looked up at him, panic rising in my chest. Liam, I don't understand. Why? We're happy. We just talked about going to the lake next summer. You were happy, Liam corrected. He leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. I've been miserable for a long time. Miserable, but I cook your meals. I keep the house. I picked up extra shifts so we could pay off your student loans quicker. I've done everything for you. That's exactly the problem, he said, his tone dripping with disdain. Look at you, Ava. You smell like diner food. You're wearing jeans you've had since college. You have no ambition. Ambition? I choked out. I supported your ambition. I put my degree on hold so you could finish your MBA. And that was your choice, he said dismissively. But look where I am now. I'm an executive. I have dinners to attend, galas, networking events, and honestly, I can't bring you. Why not? Tears pricked my eyes, hot and stinging. Chloe let out a soft, cruel laugh. Oh, honey. Look in a mirror. Liam meets a power couple dynamic. He meets someone who understands the corporate world, not someone who understands how to refill a ketchup bottle. I turned to her, shock momentarily replaced by anger. This is between my husband and me. Actually, Liam said, reaching across the table to cover Chloe's hand with his own. It's between the three of us now. Chloe and I are together. The air left the room. I stared at his hand on hers. It looked so natural. Like they had done it 1,000 times before. You're cheating on me? I'm moving on, Liam said, correcting me again. I've outgrown you, Ava. It's a simple fact of life. People grow, and sometimes they grow apart. I need a partner who fits my life now. And that isn't you. He tapped the papers. I've been generous. You can keep the old car, but I need the apartment. The lease is in my name and it's close to the office. This is my home, I whispered. I painted these walls. I made those curtains. You have 1 week to move out, he said, standing up. He adjusted his tie, looking through me like I was invisible. I'll be staying at Chloe's place until then. I expect you to be gone by next Friday. Liam, please. I stood up, reaching for him. 5 years, doesn't that mean anything? He pulled away from my touch as if I were contagious. It means I wasted 5 years waiting for you to be something you're not. Don't make this harder than it has to be, Ava. Have some dignity. Chloe stood up too, smoothing down her skirt. She looked at me, her eyes sweeping over my messy bun and my stained apron. She smirked a triumphant, pitying look that hurt more than the shouting. Good luck, Ava, she said. I hear the diner is hiring for the night shift. They walked out of the kitchen together. I heard the front door open and close. The silence that followed was deafening. I looked down at the divorce papers, then at the white bakery box on the counter. I opened the box. Happy 5th anniversary was written in blue icing. I sank to the floor, the papers crinkling in my fist, and for the first time in my life, I screamed. But there was no one left to hear me. Make sure you don't take anything that belongs to Leon, Mrs. Higgins said, her voice sharp as cracking glass. She hovered over my shoulder, watching me fold a worn-out sweater. I didn't look up. I couldn't. If I looked at her, I might scream, and I didn't have the energy for that. These are my clothes, Mrs. Higgins. I bought them. With my son's money, I assume. She sniffed, kicking the side of my suitcase with the toe of her expensive shoe. No, I said, my voice trembling just a little, with my tips. From the diner, she let out a short, cruel laugh. Tips, honestly, Ava, I always knew you weren't right for him. A waitress and a junior executive? It was embarrassing for the family. We all just tolerated you. I zipped the suitcase shut, the sound loud in the empty bedroom. I put him through school, Mrs. Higgins. I paid his tuition for 3 years so he didn't have to work. That's what a wife does, she snapped, waving her hand dismissively. You don't get a medal for doing your duty. You should have been grateful he married you at all. He could have had anyone, and now, thank goodness, he has Chloe. The name hit me like a physical blow. I grabbed my box of books, the only other thing I was taking besides my clothes. Chloe fits his world, Mrs. Higgins continued, following me out into the hallway. She has class. She has a career. She doesn't smell like grease. I stopped at the front door. I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to scream that I had a full scholarship to university once, that I was the valedictorian of my high school class. But the words stuck in my throat. Standing there in my old jeans, holding a cardboard box, I felt exactly like what she said I was, nothing. Leave the keys on the table, she commanded. Chloe's coming over later to measure for new drapes. We need to get this place looking respectable. I dropped the keys on the side table. Clink. The sound of my marriage ending. Goodbye, Mrs. Higgins. Good riddance, she muttered as I walked out the door. My brother Sam's apartment was on the other side of town in a building where the elevator never worked. I dragged my 2 suitcases up 3 flights of stairs, tears blurring my vision with every step. When Sam opened the door, he took one look at my face and pulled me into a hug that squeezed the air out of my lungs. I'm going to kill him, Sam growled into my hair. I swear to God, Ava, I'm going to drive over there and break his nose. No, I sobbed, finally letting go. No, Sam, please, I just need to sit down. He led me to his lumpy beige couch. The apartment smelled like stale pizza and gym socks, but right now it felt like the safest place on earth. He gave you 1 week to pack up 5 years? Sam paced the small living room, kicking a stray sneaker out of his way. He needs the space, I whispered, staring at a stain on the rug. For her. He's garbage, Sam spat. Absolute garbage. But hey, at least you got your half, right? You got the savings? I froze. A cold numbness spread from my chest to my fingertips. Sam stopped pacing. He looked at me, his eyes widening. Ava? You did get the savings, right? I let out a dry, humorless laugh. What savings, Sam? The money you guys put away. You worked double shifts for 4 years. It went to his student loans, I said, my voice hollow. All of it. We just finished paying them off last month. I have $40 in my wallet. That's it. Sam stared at me, his mouth open. You're kidding. You're telling me you walked out of there with nothing? I have my books, I said quietly, pointing to the box. Books don't pay rent. Sam shouted, running a hand through his hair. Ava, you're 30 years old. How could you let him do this to you? I trusted him. I shouted back, the anger finally breaking through the sadness. I thought we were a team. I thought his success was my success. Well, it's not, Sam said bluntly. He's an executive and you're homeless. The word hung in the air. Homeless. I pulled my knees to my chest, burying my face in my hands. I'm a loser. Mrs. Higgins was right. I'm nothing. Shut up, Sam said, his voice softer now. He sat down next to me and put a heavy hand on my shoulder. You are not a loser. Do you remember who you were before him? I shook my head. I don't remember anything before him. I do, Sam said fiercely. I remember the girl who aced every calculus test without studying. I remember the girl who got a full ride to state. You were the smart one, Ava. You were the one who was supposed to make it big, not me. I gave it all up, I whispered. So take it back, Sam said. He got up and walked to the kitchen, coming back with a plate of cold leftover pizza. He shoved it into my hands. I'm not hungry. Eat, he ordered. You look like a ghost. You're going to eat, and then you're going to sleep. And tomorrow we figure this out. I looked at the cold pepperoni. It looked unappetizing, but I took a bite anyway. I chewed mechanically. I don't know how to start over, Sam, I admitted, my voice trembling. I'm 30. It's too late. It's not too late, Sam said, sitting back and crossing his arms. You're just broken. But broken things can be fixed. You just have to want to fix them. I swallowed the food, feeling it settle like a rock in my empty stomach. I looked around Sam's messy, cramped apartment. This was my life now. Sleeping on a brother's couch with 2 suitcases to my name. But as I looked at Sam's stubborn, angry face, a tiny spark lit up in the dark cave of my chest. I don't just want to fix it, I whispered, wiping a tear from my cheek. Yeah? Sam asked. What do you want? I want to make him regret it, I said. I want to make him regret every single word he said to me. Sam grinned, a sharp, dangerous look. Now that sounds like a plan. I stopped dead on the sidewalk, nearly dropping the bag of cheap groceries I just bought with my last $20. The woman staring back at me from the boutique window looked like a stranger. Her gray sweatpants were stained at the knees. Her hair was pulled back in a frizzy, defeated knot. Her eyes were hollow, rimmed with dark circles that no amount of sleep could fix. Is that really me? I whispered, touching my cheek. A group of college girls walked past, laughing, their skin glowing and clothes crisp. They didn't even see me. I was invisible. Liam was right, I said to the glass, the words tasting like ash. I let myself disappear. For a moment, I wanted to curl up on the concrete and cry. But then something hot and jagged sparked in my chest. It wasn't sadness, it was rage. Pure, white-hot rage. No, I hissed, straightening my spine until it cracked. I didn't disappear, I was erased. And I'm going to write myself back in louder than before. 2 weeks later, I sat behind a sleek marble desk at Sterling Luxury Properties. Sterling Luxury, this is Ava speaking. How may I direct your call? I need to speak to an agent immediately, a man barked on the other end. I have a listing in the Heights that needs to move. One moment, sir. I transferred the call, my fingers flying over the keypad. It wasn't a glamorous job. I was answering phones and fetching coffee for people who made more in a month than I had made in 5 years. But I was invisible here too, and that was my superpower. Did you see the price on the waterfront lot? A junior agent, Brad, leaned against my desk, chatting with a colleague. Totally overvalued. No one's buying that swamp. It's not a swamp, I muttered under my breath, typing an email. The city just approved the drainage rezoning yesterday. What was that, receptionist? Brad asked, smirking. Nothing, I said, flashing a polite, practiced smile. Just saying your coffee is ready. He grabbed the cup without a thank you. Cute. Stick to the phone, sweetheart. I watched him walk away. Hey, I'd read the city council minutes online during my lunch break. That swamp was about to double in value. Suddenly, the glass door swung open and a woman stormed in like a hurricane in Prada heels. Where is the Kensington contract? She shouted, not looking at anyone specifically. If that paperwork isn't on my desk in 5 minutes, heads are going to roll. This was Mia Vance, the top closer. The woman everyone was terrified of. She slammed a stack of papers onto my desk. You, new girl, scan these. Email them to the buyer's attorney, now. Yes, Miss Vance, I said, reaching for the stack. Don't read it, she snapped, checking her watch. Just scan it, I don't pay you to think. She turned on her heel, pulling out her phone. I fed the first page into the scanner, my eyes scanning the text automatically. I stopped. I pulled the page back out. Miss Vance? She spun around, eyes narrowing. Did the scanner break, or are you just slow? The commission split, I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. On page 4. What about it? It says 2.5%, I said, tapping the paper. But in the initial offer letter you filed yesterday, the agreement was 3%. If you send this, you're legally locking yourself out of about $15,000. The office went quiet. Brad stopped mid-sip of his coffee. Mia stared at me. She walked back to the desk slowly, snatching the paper from my hand. She read it. Then she read it again. She looked up, and for the first time, she actually saw me. You caught that? She asked, her voice dangerously quiet. I noticed the discrepancy, I said, gripping the edge of the desk. You're the receptionist, she stated flatly. I am, I agreed, but I'm also good at math. Mia stared at me for a long, uncomfortable second. Then a slow, shark-like grin spread across her face. Fix it, she ordered, dropping the paper back onto the desk. Then bring it to my office. And bring a coffee, black. Yes, Miss Vance. She walked away, but at the door to her office, she paused and looked back over her shoulder. What's your name? Ava? Well, Ava, she said, opening her door. Don't get comfortable answering those phones. 6 months of ramen and silence had turned me into a stranger I barely recognized. My tiny studio apartment was a shoebox, but every penny went into my freedom fund. Under Mia's brutal tutelage, I had stopped seeing houses and started seeing numbers. You're actually doing this, Ava? Sam asked, his voice echoing in the hollow living room. He kicked a loose floorboard. This place is a literal crime scene. There's mold in the corners. It's a gold mine, Sam, I snapped, pulling a respirator mask down. The city just approved the new transit line nearby. By spring, this neighborhood will be the new it spot. I'm telling you, it's perfect. And if you're wrong? Sam's face was etched with worry. You've put every cent of your savings into this. Plus the $5,000 I lent you. That's my entire emergency fund, sis. What happens then? I won't be wrong. I can't afford to be, I said, looking at my reflection in a dusty window. Every time my back aches, I just remember Liam's mother telling me I wasn't worth the family name. I'm doing this, Sam. Do you understand? You have my blessing, stubborn as you are, he sighed, handing me a heavy crowbar. Just promise me you won't let the ceiling fall on you. I can't afford a funeral either. I'll be careful, I promise, I said. I'm the only one who truly cares about this house. It's mine now. I spent my nights alone, fueled by spite. I sanded floors until my shoulders burned. My tired hands were a map of blisters, but I didn't care. Each stroke was a middle finger to my past. Then came the Tuesday from hell. I was trying to tighten a connection under the sink when it simply gave up. A jet of icy water blasted my face. No, stop it. Please, I shrieked, scrambling for a bucket as the floor began to flood. Not now, I can't do this now, it's too much. You're going to need a wrench, not a prayer, a deep voice said from the doorway. I spun around, dripping wet. A man stood there, framed by the evening light. He wore a simple gray shirt and work pants. Who are you? I gasped, still trying to block the spray. How did you get in here? The back door has a broken latch, he said. I'm Ethan. I'm developing the complex across the street. I heard the screaming and thought someone was being murdered. He stepped in and turned the shut-off valve with a firm twist. The spray died. Thank you, I breathed, sliding down to sit on the floor. I'm a total disaster. This house hates me, Ethan. The house doesn't hate you. It's just testing you, Ethan said. He looked at the staircase I'd spent 40 hours restoring. Did you do that woodwork yourself? It's professional grade. Yeah, I said, wiping water from my eyes. Sanded and stained. It took forever. My fingers are still numb. Most people hire a crew, Ethan said, his voice low. Why do all the grunt work yourself? Because I want to own it, I replied, looking him in the eye. Every nail, every board. I don't want anyone to be able to say they built this for me. Does that make sense? Ethan stared at me for a long beat. A small smile touched his mouth. It makes perfect sense to me. I have some spare parts in my truck. I'll fix this leak for $50. Consider it a neighborly discount. We must stick together in this neighborhood. Open it, I said, sliding the thick cream-colored envelope across Sam's scratched coffee table. Sam looked up from his video game, pausing the controller. What's this? Another bill? Just open it, Sam. He tore the flap with a frown. He pulled out the cashier's check and his jaw literally dropped. He blinked, rubbing his eyes as if the numbers might change. Ava dot. Is this real? This says $10,000. I only gave you 5. That's your principal plus interest, I said, fighting the lump in my throat. We closed on the house this morning. Cash offer. 30% over asking price because of the new transit line. Sam stared at the check, his hands shaking slightly. He looked up at me, his eyes shiny. You did it. You actually did it. You're a genius. I told you I would, I said, wiping a stray tear that escaped. I'm not homeless anymore, Sam, and neither are you. He pulled me into a hug that smelled like victory and stale pizza. I'm proud of you, sis, seriously. So, what are you going to do with the rest of the profit? Bahamas? New car? No, I pulled back, grinning. I found a duplex on Elm Street. It's a foreclosure. I'm buying it cash tomorrow. I'm going to be a landlord. You're a machine, Sam laughed, shaking his head. I felt like one. The emotions that used to cripple me were now fuel. When the text came in later that night, a photo from a mutual friend showing a diamond ring on Chloe's finger with the caption, "They're engaged," I waited for the crushing weight of grief. It didn't come. I looked at the ring. It was flashy, expensive, likely purchased on credit. I opened my banking app instead. Balance $84,500. Enjoy the payments, Liam, I whispered to the empty room, locking my phone screen. I had tenants to interview in the morning. A few days later, I was inspecting organic produce at the market when a voice stopped me. Ava, is that you? I turned slowly. Jessica, Liam's sister, stood there clutching a cart full of frozen dinners. She looked haggard, her roots showing, a stark contrast to the perfectly put-together woman who used to critique my cooking. Hello, Jessica, I said, keeping my tone polite but distant. My God. She breathed, looking me up and down. You look different. Is that a silk blouse? It is, I said simply, picking up a perfect avocado. How are you? It was the wrong question to ask. The dam broke. I'm exhausted, Jessica vented, leaning in close over the apples. It's Chloe. She's driving us all crazy. Did you hear about the engagement? I heard, I said, examining the fruit. She wants a destination wedding in Italy, Jessica hissed, her eyes wide with stress. Italy, Liam is maxing out his credit cards and Mom is talking about refinancing her house to help them pay for the venue. It's a disaster. She screams if the napkins are the wrong shade of white. She looked at me with desperate, conspiratorial eyes. I miss you, Ava. You were always so low maintenance. I told Liam just yesterday that he's making a huge mistake. She waited. She wanted me to agree. She wanted me to trash them to validate her misery, to show that I was still bitter and hurt. She wanted the old Ava. I checked my watch, a sleek silver piece I'd bought to celebrate the duplex closing. That sounds very stressful for you all, I said, my voice completely devoid of pity. It is. I just don't know what to do, she stammered, taken aback by my calmness. I wish I could chat, Jessica, I lied smoothly. But I have a business meeting in 20 minutes. I can't be late. Business meeting? She blinked, confused. But, aren't you still working at the diner? I smiled. It was a sharp, dangerous thing. No, I haven't worked there in a long time. Good luck with the wedding. I walked away toward the checkout, my heels clicking a steady rhythm on the tile floor. I didn't look back. I left her standing there in the produce aisle, realizing that I wasn't the girl they threw away anymore. My silence, I knew, would haunt them far more than any scream ever could. Ava, stand up straight. You look like you're hiding from the police, Mia hissed into my ear. I feel like everyone is staring at my dress, I whispered. They are staring because you look like $1,000,000. That emerald green was made for you. Now, stop shaking and go mingle. I didn't help you build your firm just to watch you hide. It's my company, Mia. I'm the CEO. I reminded her, a small smile finally breaking through my nerves. Then act like it. I'll be by the bar if you need a refill. I took a deep breath, feeling the cool silk of my gown brush against my legs. I had bought this dress with my first major commission check. No asking for permission. No worrying if Liam would think it was too flashy or wasteful. It was mine. I took a glass of champagne from a passing tray and turned around. My heart stopped. Standing 10 feet away was Liam. He looked different. His face was puffy, his hair thinning, and his suit was straining at the buttons. Beside him was Chloe, draped in diamonds, but looking miserable. When Liam saw me, he actually choked on his drink. "Ava?" he gasped, his eyes wide. "Hello, Liam," I said, my voice steady. "Chloe, good to see you both." Chloe's eyes raked over me, landing on the emerald dress and the diamond studs in my ears. Her expression shifted from confusion to pure, unadulterated jealousy in a heartbeat. "Ava? What on earth are you doing here?" Chloe asked, her voice high and sharp. "Did the catering company need extra help tonight?" Liam let out a forced, condescending laugh. "That must be it. Although, I have to say, that's a very convincing costume. Did you spend your whole life savings to rent that dress for the night?" I took a slow sip of my champagne, letting the silence stretch just long enough to make him uncomfortable. "I'm a guest, Liam, just like you." "A guest?" Liam sneered, stepping closer. He looked me up and down with that old familiar arrogance. "Come on, Ava, who brought you? Which one of these old guys did you trick into giving you a +1? Was it a client at the diner?" "Liam, don't be cruel," Chloe said, though she was grinning. "Maybe she's someone's assistant for the night." "Actually," I started, but I was interrupted. "Ava, there you are." A tall, silver-haired man in a perfectly tailored tuxedo walked toward us. Liam's jaw dropped so far I thought it might hit the floor. "Mr. Sterling?" Liam stammered. You know her?" Arthur Sterling ignored Liam entirely, stepping up to take my hand and shaking it warmly. "Know her, Liam, is it? Ava is the reason my latest development project isn't tied up in red tape. She's the sharpest real estate mind in the city." I'm a junior executive at Sterling's primary lender," Liam managed to say, his face turning a bright, embarrassing shade of red. Mr. Sterling looked at him for half a second before turning back to me. "Is he bothering you, Ava? I can have security show him the exit if he's being a nuisance." "He was just leaving," I said, smiling. "He was curious who brought me." Arthur laughed, a deep, booming sound. "Brought you?" "Ava is one of the lead sponsors for this gala. She didn't come as a guest, son. She's a donor." The color drained from Liam's face. He looked at me, then at the donor ribbon on my name tag that he hadn't noticed. He looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. "I have to go right now," Chloe hissed, pulling Liam away quickly. I watched them walk away, feeling nothing but a cool, refreshing sense of peace. "Everything all right?" Arthur asked. "Everything is perfect now," I said. "Let's go talk about business." "They pulled the contract, Ava," Mia said, throwing her phone onto my desk. Her usual composure was gone, replaced by a tight, angry line of a mouth. I stared at the ceiling, trying to breathe. "Which one?" "The Henderson deal?" "Both Henderson and the Marina project. That's $2 million in sales gone in 3 days. "Why?" I whispered, though I already knew the answer. The whispers had started a week ago. Little comments from inspectors about shortcuts, snide remarks from bank loan officers about my liquidity issues. "Someone is poisoning the well," Mia said, pacing my office. "Someone is telling every major player in town that your company is a house of cards. That you're cutting corners on permits. That you're insolvent." "It's Liam," I said, the name tasting like bile. "He's been calling my vendors. I saw his number on a call log yesterday." "He's desperate," Mia scoffed. "Chloe is bleeding him dry, and he's stalled at junior executive for 3 years. He sees you winning, and he can't handle it." "He's going to ruin me," I said, burying my face in my hands. The old voice Mrs. Higgins' voice crept into my ear. "You were never good enough. A waitress playing dress-up. Maybe he's right. Maybe I'm just lucky." "Stop that," a deep voice cut through the panic. I looked up. Ethan was leaning against the doorframe, still in his work boots covered in drywall dust. He looked out of place in my glass-walled office, but his presence filled the room. "Ethan, I can't pay you until next month if this keeps up," I said weakly. "I don't want your money," he said, walking in and sitting on the edge of my desk. "I want you to fight." "Fight with what?" "Rumors are impossible to kill." "Not if you have a bigger shield," Ethan said. He reached into his back pocket and pulled out a crumpled business card. He slid it across the desk. I picked it up. Ethan Blackwood. CEO, Blackwood Construction Holdings. My jaw dropped. Blackwood? As in the Skyline Blackwoods? The ones who built half the city? "My grandfather built it," Ethan shrugged. "I just run the custom division because I like getting my hands dirty." "But the name carries weight." "You single quotes A billionaire heir, Mia asked, blinking rapidly. And you've been fixing my sink? I like fixing things, Ethan said, looking directly at me. His eyes were intense, dark, and serious. And right now, I want to fix this. Partner with me, Ava. Officially, we announce a joint venture. Blackwood and Associates backs Ava's firm. The rumors will die overnight. No one questions the Blackwood project. Why would you do that? I asked, my heart pounding against my ribs. That puts your reputation on the line for me. Because you're the hardest worker I know, Ethan said softly. And because I hate bullies. He leaned closer, his hand brushing mine on the desk. The air in the room suddenly felt very thin. For a second, I forgot about Liam, about the lost contracts, about everything except the warmth of his skin and the way he smelled like cedar and rain. Mia cleared her throat loudly. I single quotes LL ... Go draft a press release. She practically ran out of the room. We were alone. The office lights hummed. Thank you, I whispered. Don't thank me yet, Ethan said, his voice rough. We have a long night ahead of us. We need a legal strategy. If he's spreading lies, we hit him where it hurts. A lawsuit? Defamation. Ethan nodded grimly. Tortious interference. We sue him for every penny he doesn't have. We bury him in paperwork until he can't breathe. I looked at the crumpled card, then at Ethan's determined face. The fear evaporated, replaced by a cold, sharp clarity. Okay, I said, standing up and smoothing my skirt. Let's write the press release, and then let's call the lawyers. Ethan smiled, a slow, dangerous grin that made my knees weak. That's the Ava I know. We worked until sunrise, shoulders touching as we huddled over my laptop. It wasn't romantic, it was war planning. But as the sun came up over the city I was helping to build, I knew two things. I was going to win, and I was falling for the man sitting next to me. The glass doors of Liam's office building reflected a woman I had built from the ground up. Tailored suits, stilettos that clicked like gunshots, and a folder of legal dynamite in my hand. Are you sure about this, Ava? My lawyer, Mr. Henderson, asked, adjusting his tie. We could just mail these. Mailing them lacks impact, I said, checking my reflection. Liam responds to power. I need him to see it. We walked past the security desk. I didn't stop. I knew exactly where his cubicle was. I had visited him here a dozen times to bring him lunch he'd forgotten, only to be shooed away because he was busy. Today, I wasn't bringing lunch. Excuse me. I wasn't bringing lunch. He'd forgotten, only to be shooed away because he was busy. Today, I wasn't bringing lunch. Excuse me. I wasn't bringing lunch. Excuse me. Him only to be shooed away can him only to be shooed away, because he was busy. Today, I wasn't bringing lunch. You can't just walk back there, a receptionist called out. It's fine, I said over my shoulder, not breaking stride. I'm here to see Liam about a legal matter. I turned the corner into the open plan bullpen, heads turned. The chatter died down. And there he was, hunched over his desk, rubbing his temples. He looked exhausted. Liam, I said, my voice cutting through the silence. He jumped, spinning his chair around. His eyes widened when he saw me, then darted to Mr. Henderson. Ava, what the hell are you doing here? He hissed, standing up. I'm at work. You can't just barge in. I have something for you, I said, extending the thick manila envelope. What is this? He took it, his hand shaking slightly. He opened it, and I watched the color drain from his face as he read the header. Defamation of character. Tortious interference. Damages sought $2.5 million. You're suing me? He whispered, looking around nervously at his coworkers who were now openly staring. For $2 million? Are you insane? I am protecting my business, I said calmly. You've been spreading lies about my solvency to my clients. We have the phone records, Liam. We have the emails. I IDID in single quotes T ... He stammered, sweat beading on his forehead. It was just talk. Locker room talk. It was malicious intent, Mr. Henderson interjected smoothly. And it cost my client significant revenue. We'll see you in court. Is there a problem here? A booming voice echoed from the corner office. Mr. Sterling's lender, Liam's boss, Mr. Jacobs, stepped out. He looked from me to Liam, his eyes narrowing. Mr. Jacobs, I nodded politely. Apologies for the interruption. I was just serving your employee with a lawsuit regarding his illegal interference in my business affairs. Illegal interference? Mr. Jacobs repeated, looking at Liam with disgust. Is this what you've been doing on company time, Liam? Is this why the Henderson account had errors last week? No, sir, it's personal. She's my ex-wife. She's just bitter. Liam pleaded, sweat now running down his face. I'm not bitter, Liam, I said, my voice ice cold. I'm successful. There's a difference. Ava, please, Liam begged, dropping his voice to a desperate whisper. Don't do this here. We were married. Doesn't that mean anything? I'm struggling, okay? Chloe's spending everything I make. I can't afford a lawyer. I looked at him, really looked at him. The man who had once been my entire world was now just a small, petty obstacle. You once told me something very important, I said, stepping closer so only he could hear. You said you needed a partner who fit your status. He flinched. Well, I continued, smoothing my lapel, I need a partner who fits mine. And quite frankly, Liam, you're a liability. I turned to Mr. Jacobs. Good day, sir. Good day, Miss Vance, Mr. Jacobs said, nodding respectfully. Then he turned to Liam. Pack your things. We need to discuss your future at this firm. I walked out of the lobby without looking back. The sound of my heels on the marble floor sounded like victory. My phone buzzed on the mahogany desk, vibrating against the smooth wood. The name Jessica flashed on the screen. I stared at it for a long moment, with silence in my office heavy and deliberate. Finally, I answered. Ava? Oh, thank God you picked up. Jessica's voice was ragged, choked with tears. It's a disaster, Ava, a complete disaster. Slow down, Jessica, I said, leaning back in my leather chair. What's wrong? Liam ... he lost his job, and Chloe. She packed her bags this morning. She left him, Ava. She said she couldn't be with a failure. Can you believe that? After everything he bought her. I believe it, I said calmly. Chloe always had expensive taste. But that's not the worst part, she sobbed. The house. The bank sent a foreclosure notice. They're going to take it, Ava. Mom is hysterical. She co-signed the loan, remember? If Liam loses the house, Mom loses her retirement savings. I closed my eyes. The house on Maple Street. I had spent weeks researching that neighborhood, convinced it was the perfect place to raise a family. Now it was just another asset on a balance sheet. What do you want me to do, Jessica? A loan, she begged. Just enough to cover the arrears. Please, Ava, I know we haven't been perfect to you, but we were family. Doesn't that count for something? Family, I repeated, the word tasting bitter. You mean the family that watched me pack my life into cardboard boxes and said nothing? We were wrong. We know that now. She cried. Please, Ava, you're rich now. It's nothing to you. It's not nothing, I said sharply. It's my hard-earned money. I'll think about it. I hung up before she could plead more. I needed air. I walked out to the balcony where Sam was helping Mia review blueprints for our next project. She asked for money? Sam asked without looking up, sketching a line on the paper. To save the house, I confirmed. And to save Mrs. Higgins' retirement. Let them rot, Mia said, not lifting her eyes from the tablet. They wanted you out of that house so badly? Fine, let them get kicked out of it too. It's poetic justice. It's just ... His mom, I murmured, leaning on the railing. She's old, Sam, if she loses her savings. She treated you like dirt, Sam reminded me, his voice hard. But I get it. You're not them, Ava. You have a conscience. Do what lets you sleep at night, but don't be a doormat. I looked at the city skyline, the gears in my mind turning. I didn't want to save Liam. I didn't want to enable him. But I also didn't want to be the villain in my own story. I have an idea, I said slowly. I won't give them a loan. Then what? Mia asked, finally looking up. I'll buy the debt. Mia's eyes widened, a slow grin spreading across her face. You mean ... double quotes. I mean I'd call the bank. I offer to buy out the mortgage at a discount before it goes to auction. It's a distressed asset. The bank will be happy to offload it. And then? Sam asked, confused. And then, I said, pulling out my phone to dial my banker, I become the owner of the note. I become Liam's landlord. 3 days later, I sat in my office signing the final transfer documents. The house on Maple Street now belonged to Vance and Blackwood Holdings. So, what's the first order of business, boss? Mia asked, handing me a file. I opened it. Inside was the payment history. Liam hadn't paid the mortgage in 4 months. He's in default, I said, my voice void of emotion. Treat it like any other tenant who hasn't paid rent. You want to send a warning? No, I said, picking up my pen. Send an eviction notice. 30 days to vacate for non-payment. It's just business. I signed the paper, Ava Vance. The signature looked strong. The woman who had left that house in tears was gone. The woman who owned it now didn't cry. She collected. You can't do this. Liam slammed his hand onto my desk, his palm hitting the mahogany with a dull thud. I didn't flinch. I just looked up from my laptop, my fingers hovering over the keys. I can and I did, I said, my voice steady. The deed is in my company's name, Liam. You're 4 months behind on payments. The bank was going to foreclose next week anyway. I just sped up the process. Liam looked wrecked. His shirt was wrinkled, his eyes bloodshot, and he smelled faintly of stale whiskey. The polished junior executive was gone, replaced by a desperate, frantic man. You bought my house just to kick me out? He shouted, running a hand through his messy hair. That's sick, Ava. That's twisted. You're doing this to punish me. I bought a distressed asset in a high-value neighborhood. I corrected him, closing my laptop. It's a smart investment. I plan to renovate and flip it. The market is hot right now. Renovate? He laughed, a harsh, jagged sound. That was our home. We picked out the tile in the bathroom together. You cried when we painted the nursery. How can you just ... erase that? You erased it first, I said quietly. You erased 5 years of marriage in a single afternoon because you thought you deserved better. Remember? You needed someone who fit your status. I made a mistake, he yelled, his voice cracking. He slumped into the chair opposite me, burying his face in his hands. I made a huge mistake, okay? Is that what you want to hear? Chloe. She was nothing. She was just ... flash. She didn't know me. Not like you did. I watched him unravel, expecting to feel a surge of triumph. I expected to feel the vindication I had dreamed of for 2 years. But there was nothing. No joy, no anger. Just a quiet, empty space where my love for him used to be. It doesn't matter anymore, Liam, I said. He looked up, his eyes wide and pleading. It does matter, Ava. Look at you. You're successful. You're beautiful. You proved your point. You won. Can't we just stop fighting? Can't we go back? He reached across the desk, his fingers brushing against my arm. His touch, once familiar, now felt alien, cold. Go back to what? I asked, pulling my arm away. To me cooking your dinner while you complain about my clothes? To me making myself smaller so you can feel big? No, I've changed. He insisted, leaning forward. I see your value now. We could be a power couple. Imagine it, Ava, you and me running this city. We could. Stop, I said, standing up. The movement was sharp, final. You don't want a partner, Liam. You want a savior. You want someone to fix your mess because you're drowning. And I'm done fixing you. Ava, please. Tears were streaming down his face now. I have nowhere to go. My mom... She's going to lose everything. Your mother has her pension, I said, walking around the desk to stand by the window. And you have a degree. You're a smart man. You'll figure it out. But not in that house. You're heartless, he whispered, staring at my back. No, I turned to face him, my silhouette framed by the skyline of the city I was helping to build. I'm just a businesswoman protecting her investment. You're a liability, Liam, emotionally and financially. I checked my watch. I have a dinner reservation in 20 minutes. You need to leave. With who? He sneered, wiping his nose. That old man Sterling? With Ethan, I said, a genuine smile touching my lips for the first time. My partner in business and in life. A man who didn't need me to be rich to respect me. Liam stood up slowly, looking defeated. He looked small in my spacious office. You have until Monday at noon to vacate the property, I said, opening the door for him. Leave the keys on the counter and Liam. Clean the place before you go. I'd hate to keep your security deposit. He walked out without another word, his shoulders slumped. I watched him go, feeling the last tether to my past snap. I was free. I grabbed my purse and walked out to the lobby. Ethan was waiting, looking at blueprints on his phone. He looked up and smiled, a warm, steady smile that reached his eyes. Ready? He asked. Ready, I said, taking his hand. Let's go. The auction hall smelled of stale coffee and desperation. Men in ill-fitting suits muttered into phones, calculating margins on distressed properties. I stood in the back, my back pressed against the cool plaster wall, watching the spectacle. Lot 42. The auctioneer boomed, his voice a practiced rhythm. Single-family home on Maple Street. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Starting bid at $200,000. Ethan stood next to me, his shoulder brushing mine. His presence was a solid, grounding weight in the chaos. You okay? He whispered, leaning down. I'm fine, I said, my eyes fixed on the screen displaying a photo of the house. The house where I had once imagined growing old. It's just ... strange, watching your past get sold off to the highest bidder. It's not your past anymore, Ethan reminded me gently. It's just an asset. You made a smart play buying the note. I know, I said, but it still feels ... final. $250. No, I said, but it still feels ... final. $250. Still feels ... final. $250. Do I hear $275? The auctioneer scanned the room. A paddle shot up in the front row. $275 from the gentleman in the gray suit. That's a developer, I noted, recognizing the man. He'll probably bulldoze it and put up condos. Better for the neighborhood values, Ethan shrugged. And better for your bottom line? You bought the debt for what, $180? $185, I corrected. Plus legal fees. Sold, to the gentleman in the front for $310,000. The gavel slammed down with a crack that echoed in my chest. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. It was done. That covers everything Liam owes the company, I said, doing the mental math, and the surplus. About $40,000... that goes to him. It's enough for a fresh start, Ethan said, if he's smart. I agreed dryly. But I'm not worried about him. I'm worried about what to do with my profit. We walked out of the hall into the crisp evening air. The city lights were just starting to twinkle. I was thinking, I said as we walked toward his truck, I want to start a fund. A scholarship. For architecture students? Ethan asked, opening the door for me. No, I said, climbing in, for women. Women who are starting over. Women who woke up one day and realized their life wasn't theirs anymore. I want to pay for their degrees. Give them the chance I almost lost. Ethan paused, his hand on the doorframe. He looked at me with an expression so tender it made my heart ache. The Ava Vance Second Act Scholarship? Something like that, I smiled. Maybe just the Phoenix Fund. He closed the door and walked around to the driver's side. When he got in, he didn't start the engine immediately. Instead, he reached across the console and took my hand, his fingers laced through mine, warm and calloused. You're incredible, you know that? He said softly. I looked down at our joined hands. It was the first time we had been this open, this intimate. It felt terrifying and right all at the same time. I'm just trying to balance the scales, I whispered. I took something from Liam. I want to give something back to the universe. You didn't take anything from him, Ethan said firmly. He threw it away. You just picked up the pieces and built a castle. He squeezed my hand. Hungry? Starving, I admitted. Italian? There's a new place downtown, he said, starting the engine. I heard the risotto is amazing. And they have a great wine list. Perfect, I said, leaning back in the seat. As we drove through the city, I realized something profound. I hadn't thought about Liam's reaction to the check he would receive. I hadn't thought about Chloe's jealousy or Mrs. Higgins' bitterness. They were just ghosts now, fading in the rearview mirror. So, Ethan said, glancing at me. I was looking at that warehouse district property again. The one with the exposed brick? The one on 4th Street? I asked, perking up. I thought the zoning was a nightmare. It is, he grinned. But I know a guy in the city council who owes us a favor. If we partner on it, we could turn it into lofts, high-end, industrial chic. We'd need to reinforce the foundation, I said, my mind already racing with possibilities. And the roof needs a total overhaul. Exactly, Ethan said. A project. Something to build together. I looked at him, at the strong line of his jaw and the excitement in his eyes. This was what I wanted. Not a savior, not a status symbol, a partner. Let's do it, I said. Let's build something beautiful. To the future, Ethan said. To the future, I echoed. And for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of what it held. Chin up, Miss Vance. Perfect. The camera shutter clicked rapidly. I smoothed the skirt of my white power suit. 5 years ago, I wouldn't have dared to wear white. I was too afraid of spilling coffee on it during a shift. It was my signature. That's a wrap, the photographer called out. Sarah, the journalist, leaned forward eagerly. Ava, your rise has been meteoric. From a waitress to a real estate mogul in 5 years. Readers want to know, what was the catalyst? I smiled. It wasn't a deal, Sarah. It was a moment of clarity. A moment? Sarah scribbled furiously. I realized I was living a life too small for me, I said carefully. I was shrinking myself to fit into someone else's box. Then one day the box broke. I had a choice, stay in the pieces or build something new. And you built an empire, she noted. I built a life, I said. The money is just a byproduct of refusing to settle. Any advice for women starting over? Don't look back, I said firmly. There's nothing there for you anymore. The drive home was a blur of city lights fading into the quiet luxury of the hills. My estate sat on a cliff, the glass walls reflecting the sunset over the sprawling city. I pulled into the driveway, gravel crunching under my tires. Walking through the front door, the smell of charcoal hit me instantly. She lives, Sam shouted from the patio, waving tongs. I was about to send a search party. I was doing press, Sam, I laughed, dropping my keys on the table. Did you tell them about your brother, the grilling genius? He asked, flipping a burger. Sam's cooking was infamous, but tonight it smelled perfect. I might have skipped that part. Maya was at the outdoor table, wine in hand, laughing at something Ethan said. Ethan looked up, his face lighting up the moment he saw me. Hey, he said, walking over to kiss my cheek. How was the interview? Empowering, I said, leaning into him. And exhausting. Well, sit down. Sam is attempting to cook, Ethan teased. Hey, I heard that. Sam yelled. Mia handed me a stack of envelopes. These came for you. Mostly junk, but this one looked personal. I took the top envelope, my breath hitched. I recognized the handwriting immediately, the jagged loop of the A. The cheap paper. It was from Leah. Everything okay? Ethan asked, watching my face closely. I looked at the envelope. 5 years ago, I would have ripped it open, desperate for an apology, a reason, anything. Now? It felt like holding a piece of trash. It's nothing, I said calmly. Just clutter. I walked over to the outdoor fire pit where the logs were crackling. Ava? Sam asked, pausing with the spatula. Just clearing out the past, I said. I tossed the unopened envelope into the flames. The paper curled, blackening. The ink disappeared into ash. Hungry? I asked, turning back to my family with a smile. Starving, Ethan smiled back, pulling out a chair. I sat down, the warmth of the fire at my back, and took a sip of wine. The past was gone. The future was right here at this table. And I had never been richer.